a de-risking role. Government, through the Uganda Development Corporation, is undertaking targeted investment to increase Uganda's manufacturing capacity. During the financial year we are ending, the following investments have been undertaken by UDC to increase local manufacturing capacity. 1. The Atiaka Sugar Factory has acquired modern mechanized equipment for the sugarcane fields in Amuru and Ramo district and installed modern irrigation systems. 2. 4 tea factories have been supported to expand and process tea for both domestic market and export. These are Kayonza Growers Tea Factory, Kigezi Highland Tea Factory, Mabale Growers Tea Factory, and Mpanga Growers Tea Factory. Continued support to Mutuma Commercial Agencies Limited in Luuka District to produce intermediary and final products such as surgical cotton, cotton cake, soap stock, and cotton seed oil. 4. Investment in Bukona Agro Processes Limited in Nyoya District to process cassava and cereals into ethanol for cooking. It produces 40,000 liters of ethanol per day. 5. Investment in Budadiri Arabic Coffee Mills Limited in Soronko District to process coffee for export. 6. Additional investment in Sorot Fruit Factory Limited that is processing 6 metric tons of fruit, mangoes, and oranges per hour into fruit concentrates and juice. And 7. UDC has also invested in the East African Medical Vitals Limited, manufacturers of examination and surgical gloves, to increase the company's production capacity to create jobs and also save the country foreign exchange through import substitution. Madam Speaker, government is also continuing to develop industrial parks to provide investors with the required infrastructure and utilities. Work is in progress in Namamve Park with 190 companies operating, the Shen Park in Kapeka, 19 companies, Sino-Uganda Industrial Park in Mbale, 18 companies, Luzira Park, 11 companies, Weyogere Park, 8 companies, and MMP in Wikwe, 7 companies. Other operational industrial parks include Jinja, Soroti, Kasese, Mbarara, Tiatanga Mukono Industrial Park. So far, over shilling 3.5 billion have been invested in these parks in the form of foreign direct investment. Over 266,812 direct and indirect jobs have so far been created. Security, good governance, and rule of law. Madam Speaker, peace and security, as well as the rule of law, are the foundation for all other things we aspire to achieve. It is the bedrock for socio-economic transformation, democracy, and all the human rights and freedoms we all cherish. Accordingly, we have done before, as we have done before, government will continue to prioritize peace, security, and the rule of law. Next financial year, I have provided a total of 9.566 shillings, 9.566 trillion, of which 481.4 billion is for administration of justice to ensure that Uganda remains a peaceful and accountable country with law-abiding citizens. Some of the priorities in these programs include security of person and property. 1. Strengthening the capacity of security agencies to address emerging security threats and ensuring combat readiness of security agencies to protect life and property. 2. Enhancing military capacity through acquisition of various assets and strengthening the surveillance infrastructure. 3. supporting joint military operations in the region. 4, building effective crime response system targeting sophisticated crimes such as terrorism, other transnational crimes, arms proliferation, illegal entry into our country, money laundering, cybercrime, espionage, smuggling of contraband, human trafficking, and others. 5, supporting the civil authorities in combating threats as well as managing the refugees in line with our refugee policy. And 6, improving the welfare of the military, police, prisoners, ESO, and ESO personnel through salary enhancement. Justice, law, and order. Strengthening justice, law, and order service delivery systems by A, recruiting 10 more high court judges in commercial and land divisions to enhance adjudication of commercial and land cases to eliminate backlog. B, recruiting 5 more justices of Court of Appeal in line with Judicature Amendment Act 2024. C, more investment in court automation to cover an additional 10 courts to enhance efficiency, reduce human contact, by extension reduce incidents of corruption. D, promotion of alternative dispute resolution mechanism to complement the formal adjudication of cases. E, starting construction of regional courts of appeal in Imbarara and Gulu, high courts in Hoima and Masindi, chief magistrate courts in Amurata, Buro, Rakai, and Katine, and magistrates grade 1 courts in Busembatia, Nyarushanje, Rubuguri, and Adwari. F, promoting the use of scientific evidence in investigation and prosecution of cases, including construction of the National DNA Data Bank at the Government Analytical Laboratories at Wandegeya. G, mass enrollment for and renewal of national IDs and automation of immigration and business registration services. H, reforming laws and the due process to ensure faster and expeditious resolution of disputes, among others. Natural disaster response and management. Madam Speaker, I'm about to close. During financial year 23-24, government supported 93,930 households with relief food and non-food items across the country. Next financial year, I have provided shillings 18.1 billion plus a contingency fund of 146.26 billion to support disaster response and management, including operationalization of the National Disaster Risk Management Plan. 2, support 50,000 households with food and non-food items across the country. 3, provision of funds to Uganda Red Cross Society to support disaster victims. And 4, supporting the resettlement of 1,000 households that were displaced by landslides and floods in the Elgon region, including the districts of Duda, Manafa, Bulambuli, Namisindwa, and Soronko. Government strategy for financial 24-25 and the medium term. Madam Speaker, in line with HE President's guidance, my ministry, in collaboration with the National Planning Authority, has developed a strategy for growing Uganda's economy tenfold. The target is to expand the size of the economy from about $50 billion last year to $500 billion by 2040. Government has identified 4 anchor sectors to drive this growth. These are agro-industrialization, tourism development, mineral development, including oil and gas, and science, technology, and innovation, including ICT. Madam Speaker, these are the ATMs that are going to mint money for Uganda's next financial year and in the medium term. The detailed enabling policies, interventions, and actions will be contained in the forthcoming fourth National Development Plan. Madam Speaker, to achieve this ambitious goal in the next 15 years, we must deliberately and pragmatically do the following. 1. Double the size of GDP every 5 years for the remaining 3 national development plans. 2. Raise per capita GDP 6-fold from the current US dollars 1,146 to about US dollars 7,000 in financial year 2039-40. 3. Double the level of savings in the economy from 20% of GDP to 40% of GDP in 2040. 4. Raise the share of exports in GDP from 12% in 2022 to 50%, and the share of manufactured products in merchandise exports from 13% to 50%, and medium high-tech products from 21% to 50% over the same period. 5. Increase the annual FDI inflows from US dollars 2.9 billion in 2022 and to US dollars 50 billion by 2040. 6. Accumulate the stock and quality of human capital, skilled workers, physical capital, energy, railway, roads, air travel, and internet infrastructure, and natural capital, forests, swamps, rivers, and lakes. Madam Speaker, the success factors of this strategy are: 1. Enhancing the capacity for effective national defense and security to avert any internal or external security risks. 2. Maintaining constitutional order, an effective and efficient judiciary, and a people-centered legislature. 3. Economic stability in line with the commitments contained in the Charter of Fiscal Responsibility. 4. A reformed government-wide coordination of rationalized ministry, departments, agencies, and local governments. 5. Effective and accountable public institutions prepared to fight corruption and impunity. 6. Policy consistency to ensure effective implementation of government programs and interventions. 7. Enforcement of local content in government programs and investments, and support to culture and the creative industry. 8. Digitization and automation, including e-payment, e-commerce, e-government, procurement, e-health, e-education. 9. Support and take advantage of the full implementation of the East African Common Market and economic integration under the African Continental Free Trade Area. Now, financing and expenditure for the year we are entering, Madam Speaker, the total resource envelope for financial year 24-25 amounts to shillings 72,136,253,466 shillings, of which total revenue is as detailed below. Domestic revenue amounts to 31.982 trillion, of which 29.366 trillion will be tax revenue and shilling 2.616 trillion will be non-tax revenue. 2. Budget support, shillings 1.394 trillion. 3. Domestic borrowing, shillings 8.968 trillion. 4. Treasury bonds for settlement of government outstanding obligation to Bank of Uganda as at 30th June 2024, shillings 7.779 trillion. 5. Domestic refinancing of maturing domestic debt, shillings 12.0022 trillion. 6. Petroleum fund withdrawdown, shillings 115.4 billion. 7. Project support external financing, shillings 9.583 trillion. And 8. Local government revenue collections, shillings 293.9 billion. Madam Speaker, the total government expenditure for financial 24-25 is projected at shillings 72 trillion 136 billion 504,253,466 shillings trillion, of which the total appropriation is shillings 37.56 trillion and statutory expenditure is 34.756 trillion. Wages and salaries are projected to amount 7.926 trillion, non-wage current expenditure to shillings 17.45 trillion. Development expenditure from own resources to shillings 6.152 trillion. External project financing shillings 9.584 trillion. Appropriation in aid to shillings 293.9 billion, while external debt repayment will amount to 3.149 trillion. Madam Speaker, I have attached the details of the resource envelope and expenditure allocation by vote for financial 24-25. Madam Speaker, the year 24-25 budget has been designated to target 7 key priorities. These are: 1. Investing in the people of Uganda through education, health, water, sanitation, and hygiene, for which I have provided a total of 10.204 trillion. 2. Peace and security of all persons in Uganda. I have allotted a total of 9.107 trillion, including a 25% enhancement of salaries of all security personnel at the rank of captain and below. 3. Maintenance of roads, of all roads, construction of 3 strategic roads, as well as rehabilitation of the meter gauge railway and construction of the standard gauge railway. I have provided 4.989 trillion shillings for these. Investing in wealth creation initiatives, including commercial agriculture, value addition, UDB and UDC, the parish development model, Emioga, agriculture creative facility, tourism, science-based research and youth skilling, export promotion program, and the GROW project. I have allocated a total of 2.641 trillion Uganda shillings. 5. To facilitate electricity transmission, distribution, and utilization in existing energy stock, I have allocated 982.6 billion. 6. Natural disasters contingency funding, to which I have allocated 146.1 billion. 7. Our international commitment for regional and global partnership is 31.1 billion. Madam Speaker, the above priorities are in support of the anchor sectors that have been identified to drive rapid expansion of our economy. Approved sources of funding to finance the budget. Madam Speaker, following principles guided the preparation of financial 24-25 budget: strengthening domestic revenue mobilization by providing adequate funding to revenue-generating entities. 2. Strengthening public finance management to ensure accountability and frugality and avoiding misuse of public resources. 3. Repurposing of the budget high-impact economic growth areas. 4, improving efficiency in the execution of projects and other public investments. 5, borrowing for only strategic high-impact interventions. Madam Speaker, starting financial 24-25, accounting officers of revenue-generating entities will sign commitment contracts against the agreed revenue performance targets, upon which budget allocations have been made, in addition to the performance contracts they sign annually. Domestic revenue mobilization, Madam Speaker, to collect the projected revenue for financial 24-25 of 31.982 trillion, a mix of modest tax policy measures were proposed and approved by Cabinet and Parliament. These will be complemented by enhanced tax administration by Uganda Revenue Authority and rationalization of tax exemption in line with the domestic revenue mobilization strategy. Tax measures for financial 24-25, Madam Speaker, the following are the modest changes in taxes that were approved by Parliament to raise more revenue and or improve the budget environment. Excise duty. Imposition of excise duty on powdered beer at shillings 1,000 per kilogram. 2, imposition of excise duty at a rate of 0.5% of value withdrawals of money from other platforms other than mobile money. This does not apply to withdrawals from agent banking or banking halls. 3, increase excise duty on petrol by 100 per liter. 4, increase excise duty on diesel by shillings 100 per liter. 5, increase excise duty on imported wines from 80% or 8,000 shillings per liter to 100% or shillings 110,000, whichever is higher. 6C, imposition of excise duty on adhesives, grout, white cement, and lime. The objective is to align the tax treatment of these products with that of cement. Value-added tax, VAT. Madam Speaker, under VAT, the supply of electric motorcycles, vehicle manufactured and fabricated in Uganda, and their respective charging stations and batteries for electric motorbikes, charging stations and related services are exempt from tax. The objective is to facilitate the growth of e-mobility and affordability of electricity cars and motorcycles and protect the environment. Madam Speaker, starting next financial year, the provision of taxable goods, services by an employer to an employee will attract VAT. Income tax, Madam Speaker, under the Income Tax Act, we provided incentives for the following. 1, we have exempted investors from tax capital gains arising from the sale of holdings in private equity or venture capital funds regulated by the Capital Market Authority. The intention is to incentivize private equity or venture capital investment in Uganda. 2, we have provided tax holidays on the income of a person who manufactures and fabricates electric motor vehicles, electric motorcycles, electric batteries, and electric vehicle charging equipment, as well as income of a person who develops, establishes, or operates a medical facility or hospital facility. 3, we have extended the waiver of penalties and interest on arrears outstanding by June 2023. This waiver will apply when the taxpayer pays between July and December this year. 4, we have also introduced a 10% withholding tax on commission paid to the banking agents and fintech agents, payment service providers. Tax administration measures. Madam Speaker, Much of the anticipated additional revenues will be generated from compliance measures undertaken by URA. These include expanding URA presence and coverage by opening up 5 liaison offices. 2, strengthening the enforcement and use of electronic fiscal receipt and invoicing system, IFRIS, which was a battle recently, as you heard, and digital tax stamps and the rental tax solution. 3, strengthening the exchange of information with other tax authorities to combat illicit financial flows and under declaration. 4, strengthening enforcement interventions. Madam Speaker, I call upon all of you colleagues and fellow Ugandans to render URA and other revenue collecting institutions the necessary support to mobilize revenue required to meet the target for financial 24-25. We must raise more revenue and reduce reliance on borrowing and external grants. I repeat, we must raise more revenue and reduce reliance on borrowing and external grants. Those of us who go to borrow, they take us as if we are children. They look at you, go today, come tomorrow. Go today, No, we should really take a decision so that we can at least get at a reasonable percentage. Date, public desk. Madam Speaker, as at the end of December 2023, Uganda's total public debt stood at 93.3 trillion, equivalent to $24.69 billion. Of this amount, external debt was shillings 55.37 trillion, equivalent to $14.64 billion, while domestic debt was 38.01 trillion, equivalent to $10.5 billion. The public debt is projected at shillings 97.638 trillion, equivalent to $25.716 billion by 30th June this year. In nominal terms, Uganda's public debt to GDP was estimated at 46.9% in June 2023 and is projected to end at 47.9% this financial year, ending June. This is below the 52.4% threshold provided for in the Charter for Fiscal Responsibility for the financial year 23-24, and less than 50% of GDP government policy target for debt sustainability. Madam Speaker, although our debt has increased, it is still sustainable, and the government is committed to keeping it sustainable. Most importantly, the money we have borrowed has been invested well, and these investments have started to give good results. The borrowed money has been spent as follows. 1, 29% was invested in improving the transport infrastructure, including oil roads, flying over, and the several tarmacked roads linking the whole country, airports, including upgrading Entebbe International Airport and the building of Kabalega International Airport, rehabilitation of the meter gauge railway, etc. 2, 28% has been invested in the development of energy infrastructure, including Karuma and Isimba dams, power transmission lines, and rural electrification. 3, 12% has been invested in improving water sources for both human consumption and for irrigation and livestock. 4, 5% in agro-industrialization. 5, the development of industrial parks, extension of national backbone infrastructure, which has improved the quality of internet and communication, as well as investment in education and health, among others. Nonetheless, the ratio of total debt service to domestic revenue excluding maturing domestic debt redemptions, is projected to increase to 40.3% in financial year 24-25 from 23.4% in financial year 23-24, above the threshold of 20%. This is the reason government has committed to exercising caution in borrowing to ensure debt sustainability by implementing the following measures. 1. Prioritizing concessional borrowing where available and reducing commercial borrowing at high interest rates. Such a borrowing shall only be for very few strategic and high impact projects. 2. Strengthening capacity for domestic revenue mobilization. 3. Controlling government spending to ensure allocative efficiency. 4. Boosting exports to increase foreign exchange inflows. 5. Ensuring project readiness and the quality of public investment to increase the return on investment. Now I conclude. Madam Speaker, in conclusion, the economy has fully recovered from various shocks that have impacted it in the past 4 years. It is now poised to accelerate towards takeoff, powered by value addition to our agricultural raw materials and the abundant natural resources, growth in industry, tourism, and innovations by our scientists. This budget is greatly for Ugandans still stuck in the subsistence economy. Countrymen and women under this category take full advantage of PDM and other wealth creation funds, as well as other support services, to join the money economy in any of the 4 sectors: commercial agriculture, industry, services, or ICT. To the private sector, this budget is anchored on the 10-fold growth strategy. It presents to you a multitude of opportunities. It has invested in a number of interventions to further improve the business environment. The macroeconomy is stable. Infrastructure is improving. Affordable capital has been provided for you to engage in value addition and export. Electricity is now reliable, and the government will work hard to reduce its cost. Regional markets are expanding, and barriers to market access are being removed. Therefore, take full advantage of these opportunities to create wealth and prosperity. Aya, have we agreed with the businessmen? Yes, please. Yes. To the youth, this budget offers opportunities. You, the youth, listen. To acquire more skills, access finance, innovate, and develop develop new and better products. To those with talents, I assure you that creative industry is going to be supported. This budget is the beginning among many in the medium term intended to open up doors for you to escape unemployment, manipulation by self-interested individuals and groups. Take full advantage of the opportunities to make money and live a productive and long life. Like some of us. To the women and mothers of the nation, the budget has provided funds to improve your health, to ensure that your children are born in safe hands, are immunized, sleep under mosquito nets, drink clean, safe water, and are educated in nearby schools for free. The budget has also allocated billions to support your businesses, however small they are now. To the elderly, persons with disabilities, and other vulnerable persons, wherever you are in this country, the budget offers several social safety nets, not only to shield you from poverty, but also to ensure that you can be productive and begin to live a decent life. To the gallant men and women in uniform at the rank of captain and below who are serving in the UPDF, in the Uganda police, in the Uganda prisons, in internal and external intelligence services, this budget contains the first installment of enhancement of your pay. Continue to serve your country and keep it as safe as you have already done. Happy belated Heroes Day. Madam Speaker, as I step off this podium, I would like to call upon all Ugandans to embrace the President's message. Let every adult Ugandan engage in producing a good or a service for sale. That way, we shall be able to create a bigger pie for the greater good of our country. I dedicate this budget to all the wealth creators. Madam Speaker, with that passionate statement, I wish to beg to move.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, everybody appreciates your budget this year, and that's why you can see nobody has even slept. We want to congratulate you so much, and we want to thank you, Honorable Minister, and by extension, we want to thank the President for the clarity of your delivery of the budget speech for this financial year. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister.
Next. Remarks by His Excellency the President.
Honorable members and distinguished guests, as I said, Honorable Kasaija was performing a delegated role. The Chief Minister of Finance now is going to give us briefs on his budget. I now take this opportunity to invite His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, to make his remarks on his budget. Welcome, Your Excellency.
The Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament, His Lordship the Chief Justice, the Deputy Speaker and the Deputy Chief Justice, the Right Honorable Prime Minister, the Chairman of the Vice Chairman of the NRM, all the other leaders, and the Wananchi who are listening. In the State of the Nation address, recently, I reminded you of the 3 historical missions of the African Revolution. I reminded you of the 4 ideological principles of the NRM and of how the Ugandan economy has not only grown from US dollars 1.5 billion in 1986 to now US dollars 55 billion by the exchange rate method, but also to US dollars 180 billion by the PPP method. I think the economists should get time and explain to you this difference between GDP by the exchange rate method, which is what the minister was talking about here, and GDP by the PPP method, the purchasing power parity method. The exchange rate method shrinks our economy because we are still importing items from abroad unnecessarily. We are importing unnecessarily. If you look at the size of our GDP by the PPP method, it is now 2 times the size of the South African economy when Mzee Mandela took over the leadership of that country in 1994. Because at that time, the GDP of South Africa was about 80 billion, 89 billion or something. So if you use the PPP method, the GDP of Uganda now is 2 times the size of the South African economy by the time Mzee Mandela took over government there. In the next few years, for me, I'm not waiting for the 2040, because they keep talking about the 2040. We shall catapult the economy to the size of the USD 500 billion. Why am I sure of this? It is because much of our economy today is comprised of raw materials that are in value nominally 10% of the value of the final products. By adding value to coffee, maize, forest products, minerals, etc., our economy will grow exponentially. You have seen the exports in this year. They grew by 38%. You saw the figures there which the minister was showing you. Exports, export earnings in 1 year from $4 billion to $7 billion. Rate of growth 38%. Because we are just underutilizing everything. This is the problem. Uganda importing furniture. You can imagine that? Importing furniture from Dubai, from India. Mama Janet here had to fight with those wonderful people in the Ministry of Education who were determined to buy furniture from India. Imagine, furniture in Tebe also takes money outside. Money is taken to buy dead people's clothes from outside. M3, that's what the Banyankore call clothes of dead people. They are called M3. So that's what we spend $800 million on imported textiles. The shirt I am putting on is made here, 100% Ugandan. Here. Why should we import textiles? We had some issues with the traders here, the people they call traders. What they call traders are the importers. How about, there was a man called Warusi Mpanga in the 1950s. He was buying cattle from the Ankole area and bringing them to Kampala. He was not an importer. He was an internal distributor. According to the traders in Kampala, that one is not a businessman. The businessman is the one who is Oksaka, who is buying from outside. This slave mentality must go away. I'm not a slave myself. I have never accepted a slave dependency mentality. That's how we were able to lead our revolution. So this importing is what is creating the discrepancy. The economy is bigger, $180 billion, but if you use the exchange rate method, it comes to 55 billion. It shrinks. But if you solve that, the size in figures will be much bigger than it is now. We have the electricity, and we shall continue expanding the generation. I want to thank the minister. Really, he showed everything here. in detail. And I'm glad you gave him a standing ovation. I think you may go to heaven because of showing gratitude. Entasime Korachi? Entasime Korachi? Kare Biblia. The one who does not thank, nobody will give him again. We have the electricity, and we shall continue expanding the generation and the transmission. The private sector is the main engine of growth and transformation. We already have a well-educated population that is easy to skill and is also innovative. As you saw, the science, the knowledge economy, those are our young people who are doing all those scientific innovations. In order for the economy to grow, the only thing I can add on now, because I don't want to give a long speech, in order for the economy to grow even more, we need to be competitive in the products we produce. And the minister conveyed my message very emphatically, which I will repeat at the end of this short speech. But in order, we need to be competitive in products and services we produce. Our products and services must be cheaper and of better quality than products from other countries. In order to achieve that, we need affordable electricity, which is already being worked on. Because for you to be competitive, you need cheap electricity. And we are working on that, as you saw here. We need low-cost money for the wealth creators, which is already available in the forms of PDM, Emioga, and UDB loans. I really want to render irrelevant these money lenders and all these people who suck our people. We shall continue putting money in PDM, in Emioga, in UDB, so that the people who want wealth creation have soft money, money which is not very expensive. Labor, so we have electricity is going to be cheaper. Money for wealth creation will be cheaper. Labor is still not expensive. However, and those are the crucial factors when you are producing a good or a service: the cost of electricity, the cost of the money you borrow, the labor costs, the wages which are being paid, the salaries which are being paid to the workers. However, to further handle the issue of the cost of production that to render products and services uncompetitive. Correct this in my speech. This should be uncompetitive. We must reactivate rail and water transport for cargo. This is what is missing now. Electricity is being worked on, money for borrowing, for production, not for importing. We are not giving you soft money for importing. If you want to import, you go to the money lenders. You go to these other fellows, the commercial banks. But if you are a wealth creator, we have money for you. The cost of of labor is still low. But how about the cost of transport? Transport, not for people who are going to nightclubs. Those can pay whatever cost they are charged. It's up to them. If you don't want to pay, you stay home. So when I say the cost of transport, I'm talking about transport of goods, cargo. That's why the railway is our next big target. Railway for the goods, and especially for the goods, even people, but mainly for cargo. We must reactivate rail and water transport for cargo. We have repaired the old meter gauge from Maraba to Kampala and also from Tororo to Guru Pakwach. We are going to start building the SGR, the standard gauge railway from Maraba to Kampala and Kampala to Mpondwe to Kasese. Later, we are going to expand the SGR, the standard gauge railway, to Gulu Nimule. The railway will transform our capacity to create wealth. Because once the railway is fully operational, then transport of goods from here up to Mombasa will be cheaper. From here up to Dar es Salaam, from here up to South Sudan, from here up to Congo, it will be cheaper. It will also save the roads, because this crowding you see on the roads by the heavy trucks, it is because the railway is not working. When the railway starts taking off the trucks from the road, then the pipeline, because we are also making the pipeline for petroleum, because now the road has got passengers, they are on the road, you have the cargo on the road, you have the petroleum products on the road. That's why the road is under such pressure. The railway and the pipeline for the petroleum will solve that problem. That means only passengers or light trucks will remain on the road. It will cause less pollution and consume less fuel, because on the road you spend a lot of fuel stopping, because of the slow movement. We are moving forward on the issue of introducing electric cars and electric bodabodas, as you saw here. So, these are the two additional strategic interventions: the railway and the pipeline for the petroleum products. Now, the other strategic intervention, we need to stabilize our economy forever, is irrigation for agriculture. The minister talked a bit about it here, but we need to do more emphasis. Because, you know, we are lucky, we have rains, but sometimes the rain is delayed, or sometimes you have less rains. Then you get a crisis, lack of food. So in order to remove that occasional disturbance, we must have supplementary agriculture arrangements. Much of the time we shall have the rains, but if the rains don't come, there is standby irrigation. With this, plus what I said in the State of the Nation address, and what has been said in the budget, there is nothing that will impede us. Because you remember in the State of the Nation address, I addressed the issue of regional integration, solve the issue of the market. The NRM is a mission-led organization. We don't come into politics to improve our CVs. Former this, former that, please. We are not here to improve our CVs. No, please. We started fighting from the 1960s because we had historical missions. We had aims. That's why we cannot move. We must achieve these aims, and we have achieved them, as you can see. We have achieved some of them. You heard the minister telling you that economy he was talking about, which he presented here, was all minus our petroleum, which is about to come online. When that comes online, the story of Uganda will be a totally different one. In a short while to come, our petroleum will start coming from the ground. This will enable the government to earn an extra $2 billion per year, assuming today's prices. Even if the prices remain the way they are now, when our oil starts coming out of the ground, the government, not the whole economy, the government alone, will be having an extra $2 billion per annum. This is apart from other income streams for the country. This does not include the money to private groups and so on, but to the government. This oil money will never be used for consumption. Who is in charge, we shall never use this oil money to import perfumes and whiskey and what have you. Never. It will never happen. It will only be used for infrastructure and science development. Therefore, strategic items like the railway and the irrigation will be funded by us directly. So this business of borrowing, of this and that, will stop. For the infrastructure, for the railway, the power stations, and the science infrastructure, we shall use this oil money to do that, but not to import those takatakas. No, those ones you continue the way you are doing now. People who do not bother to listen to our message keep talking of poverty, lack of jobs, etc. You had I'm very happy the minister and his staff, finance, are now finally capturing properly the message of the NRM. Because we have been having problems with them, the way they present things, the way they talk. Sustainable development, what is that? What does it mean? One time I asked, what does the sustainable pregnancy mean? That somebody is pregnant sustainably, never produces a baby. Nature provides that you have quantitative growth and qualitative change. Pregnancy, after 9 months, becomes a baby. After some time, it changes into something else. That's how life is. You cannot have a static situation indefinitely. So we are very clear that prosperity means an adult person participating in producing a good or a service and selling it. And when we say participation, he may be the owner of the product or he may be an employee, but he will participate in producing a good or a service and selling it. And if you do that with the Chibaro, with the proper mathematics, you will get prosperity. That's what I've been telling you. And we've been telling you, and the minister has now repeated emphatically, I'm very happy with finance now. I have nothing useful to add. And he has told you that the sectors where prosperity is are four: commercial agriculture with the Chibaro, Chura, Aymar, Otita, with the mathematics, commercial agriculture. Secondly, manufacturing and artisanship. Thirdly, services. And fourthly, ICT. So in those areas, that's where you get prosperity. You should choose to be somewhere as a wealth creator or an employee of the wealth creator. Now, those who bother people who do not bother to listen to our messages, keep talking of poverty, lack of jobs, etc. The four sectors of commercial agriculture, artisanship and manufacturing, services and ICT, if utilized in the manner recommended by the NRM ever since 1995, will create so many jobs that we will exceed the job levels of Uganda. Uganda doesn't have enough. Once we develop our full capacity, Uganda will not have enough workers. And by the way, this one happened during the time of the British, when they introduced a few activities here like coffee and cotton and sugar. That's how Africans from Rwanda, from Burundi, from South Sudan, that's how they came here. That small economy, money economy, or during the British time, created so many jobs that the internal people were not enough. That's why our brothers had to come from Rwanda, from Burundi, from South Sudan, to work here. So even now, if we all become wealth creators in the four sectors, there will be so many jobs. I've given the example of Mr. Nyakana in Fort Portal, using 1 acre to employ 15 people. And we calculated that if 7 million people did that, we will create more jobs than the whole population of Uganda now. But as of now, we already have 900,000 922,000 people employed in manufacturing. Show those factories again if you have them. Show them on the screen, the factories. Those are now. These are all new factories. In 1986, we had only 80 factories. When we went to the UMA, Uganda Manufacturers Association, we now have more than 8,000 like those. These are already employing 922,000 people and something. The whole of the public service, army, police, civil service, 480,000. So the factories are now employing 2 times the number of people working in this public service. So those jobs, the jobs are there, but you must be qualified for them by doing the right thing. All those are jobs. New jobs, you can see all of them are brand new factories. They are not all. This is the factories now, giving us 922,000 jobs. The services, the hotels, the tourism, the transport, the banks, they are now employing 5 million people. 5 million. Look at show that factory, the one of the factory. The one which was there now. Put it back. The one which was showing, those are hotels. Go back to the one you had showed. Was a factory where workers were assisted. There's another one which was bigger. There was a bigger one. Anyway, they are all the same. You can see how many people. Jobs are there. Look at that group now. Look at that. All those are young people. Jobs. They're just talking. They don't listen. And then they have their wonderful papers, like the wonderful, what do you call it, monitor, that monitor group. All you have, wajinga hao. They are like enemies of Africa. The other day, I saw them when they tested Karuma Power, 600 megawatts. I think there was some blackout or something. So they were celebrating in their paper monitor. You see, the network, the transmission network cannot handle the power. And I had had that opinion. It's very interesting to see how the enemies link up, enemies of Africa.